Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and this video was recorded on May 1st, so if anything happens from now until then, just bear with us. We like to do mailbags on Thursday when we do Thursday happy hour, and all the questions that you are seeing are from loyal subscribers of the Raiders Report, so if you're like, hey man, how can I get my questions on? Pull up to a Thursday show, make sure you're subscribed, use hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat. Let's go to the first question coming in here from my man King Shav, counting you down. Tommy Mellott can do the Wildcat. Tommy Mellott can do a lot, quite frankly. He can line up at QB. You can put him out at wide receiver. They're going to use him in special teams. The Raiders are going to use Mellott in a multitude of ways, and when we talked to him in our interview, he talked about his relationship with Raiders special teams coordinator Tom McMahon, and I don't know how exactly they're going to use him, but I kind of like it. I'll admit, and I forget who it was, I saw somebody comment on my Twitter, and they were like, dude, I hear gadget player, and I think of Lynn Bowden Jr. Please tell me he's not that. Tommy Mellott is a much better athlete than Lynn Bowden Jr. Tommy Mellott is a lot better of an athlete than what a lot of people realize, and he's going to add an extra element to our defense, or an extra element to our offense that defenses are just simply going to have to respect. Let's go to my man Sean Irish. Speaking of which, Sir Lance Mellott, after watching his film, the man is electric. Tomorrow is my birthday. I don't know exactly when this mailbag's going out, Sean, but I'll tell you this. Happy birthday from me, from Jeremy Chuggs. And if you pulled up to today's show, I know you already know who Sean Irish is. Make sure you guys give him an HBD down below. My guess, 34 years old. Young Psycho, thoughts on cornerback Mellott Dotson. So Dotson was actually one of my favorite UDFAs that the Raiders signed. Quite frankly, he's probably my second highest graded UDFA, only behind Ja Joyner. He also could play in the slot, which does help him out a little bit. He is the career leader at the University of Kansas for the most pick sixes, so keep that in mind. And because the Raiders right now, one of their weakest positions is still nickel corner, and because Dotson has played nickel corner before, it's what he's done, 4 years of experience at Kansas, that could be one of the ways that he does end up getting on the field. I do have to mention today's show sponsor is Panda Sups. Use code GENTY for 25% off at pandasups.com. Again, they just got some brand new BCAAs. I use the protein. I love their creatine. If you're trying to get into better shape, we are stronger together. Use code GENTY for 25% off. Let's go to Peter Thompson. Are we adding Amari? I'm guessing you're talking about Amari Cooper. I talked about Cooper on Tuesday, and I'm just going to say this. I know there was a rumor out there from a guy on Twitter by the name of Slick Rick, and he's been right sometimes. He's been wrong sometimes. I don't know any information on Amari, and I'll be real. I even reached out to Rick, and I said, hey, where are you hearing these rumors in regards to Amari Cooper? And he hasn't responded to me. I said on a show earlier this week, before the Slick Rick report came out, that the only reason why I think that we're talking about Amari Cooper is because I think that some fans heard Amari was at Max Crosby's draft party, and instead of doing the research, they were like, oh, it's Amari Cooper, when in fact it was Amari Gaynor. Again, if you want to see that, that's on our show on Tuesday. You go back and check it out. But then also, I don't see why we would sign Amari Cooper. He gave up on the Raiders, but then also in terms of need, you drafted 3 receivers. You also signed Collin Johnson. I'm not saying Collin Johnson's better than Amari Cooper, but they also have Kyle Phillips, who this team likes. Plus, we want a wide receiver that wants to block. We want to have a receiver that, is willing to put the team first. Amari Cooper has not really shown that he's willing to put the team first. At least he didn't do it on the Raiders. Here's my honest question to all of y'all out there. If your girlfriend back in 2018, 2017 left you, gave up on you the way Amari Cooper did, would you want her back in 2025? I wouldn't personally. And so because you gave up on me once, Amari, I'm good. I don't need you back, because if Amari signed with us, that tells me that guy's really, really desperate, and he honestly might be after the 2 years that he had this past NFL season. If you guys want to get on mailbags, reminder, you got to be subscribed. You got to turn on those notifications. If you want to know what my honest opinion is, I will do it every single day. I am not a reporter. I don't want to be a reporter. I want to be a Raiders YouTuber that's able to give his opinion every single day, and that's what I do here on this channel. Let's go to Raider Rob. Mitch, your opinion, can we add a cornerback, Asante Samuel Jr. or Justin Simmons? If you were to ask me who do I think is more likely, I would say Justin Simmons because it's a bigger need in terms of free safety. And I honestly think people hear the name Asante Samuel Jr. and just associate him with his dad, and his dad was a really good slot corner. That's not his game. I know he's a smaller corner, but he's played predominantly on the outside. I did a video earlier in the week about some Raiders free agent targets where I take a deep dive in free safeties. I talk about corners. If I think I know the Raiders the way that I think I know the Raiders, and if you were to add a corner, they're good on the outside. They have long, lanky outside corners. Though Mike Hilton and then Troy Hill would be the two veteran corners that can play in the slot that I would at least like to just throw out there in terms of those would be names to keep in mind. Let's go to Robert. Which draft pick, not Genty, has a breakout year? Here's another thing. I don't think Genty can have a breakout year because, in my opinion, you can't be a rookie and have a breakout year. A breakout year to me is you have 1 year and then you have a career year. Like, I think even a second year, I don't even know if you consider that a breakout year. Like, Brock Bowers was incredible, no doubt about it. And maybe people consider Brock Bowers a breakout year, but breakout is you doing something you've never done before. I'm hoping Genty has a great season. I'll say the player that I think is going to surprise people a lot this upcoming season is going to be Jack Bech, the second rounder. Physical wide receiver. I could see him getting somewhere around 40, 45 catches, but because of that physicality and because the just mindset he plays with, him, Brock Bowers, and then also a young guy like JPJ, they're going to set a tone for this team moving forward, and that tone's going to be you might not want to play us in January and February because we're going to try to beat the shit out of you. Let's go to Raider 007. You keep saying we trade in Trey. Why, though? I guess you're saying Tre Tucker. Again, my job here, and I say it's my job because I've made this my job, and I'm very proud to say that, but my job here is to give you my opinion. I have not heard from any sources from the Raiders that the Raiders are shopping Tre Tucker. What people got to understand what I do is I try to connect dots, and I try to look at rumors, I try to look at tea leaves, and I try to look at what the organization is doing. I don't want the Raiders to trade Tre Tucker. But if you're a Raiders fan and you're sitting at home right now and you're going, this Tre Tucker trade rumors is, it's stupid, I would say look at what the Raiders did. They drafted a receiver at number 2 in Jack Bech. They drafted a speedster in Thorton Jr., and then they also went out and got Tommy Mellott. You go out and you sign Collin Johnson. They also signed a receiver in Kyle Phillips, who this organization has a lot of ties to. Tommy Mellott can play special teams. You know what I mean? Like, I think if Tre Tucker's going to get used, it's going to be used a little bit more in special teams. But there is a part of me that goes, it wouldn't shock me if this regime decided to move on from Tucker because this wasn't the regime that drafted Tre Tucker in the 3rd round. My question to you is this, and this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show because I think it's a good question that, we really haven't asked many times. Type T for trade, type K for keep. Will the Raiders trade Tre Tucker this offseason? Please let me know. If I had to guess, I would say keep, but it wouldn't shock me if they ended up trading him. What up, Richard? When are we going to get an official number 1 wide receiver? It's driving me crazy. I would say, yeah, you might not have an official number 1 wide receiver, but you do have an official number 1 running back, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You do have an official number 1 tight end in the National Football League. And hell, I bet you some people look at Brock Bowers and go, that guy's talented enough to be a number 1 receiver. I think that the way that this Raiders offense is going to work, and everybody under the sun wants a true number 1 receiver. I hear you loud and clear, but then I would respond to this and go, sometimes number 1 receivers can kind of be divas a little bit. And I'm not just saying that because of Devontae, but if this offense is going to be a smash-mouth, F-you type of offense, and you need receivers that can humble themselves and aren't afraid to go out there and block, I think Jacoby Myers and Jack Bech are the perfect wide receivers for the offense that this team's going to run. Because if you want to go 2 tight end set, you want to put those 2 guys out there, and you're going to run the football with Genty, this is going to be a run-first offense that's going to try to beat the shit out of people also down the field with the vertical passing attack of Geno Smith. Would I want a number 1 receiver? Yeah, no doubt about it. But at the same time, I look at Jackson Powers-Johnson, I look at Brock Bowers, and I look at Ashton Genty, and I legitimately think in 2 years from now, maybe even 1 year, we could go, we have the best center in the NFL, we have the best tight end in the NFL, we have the best running back in the NFL. That sounds like a winning success to me because wide receivers cost a lot of money. Those three positions cost money, but not nearly the amount as a wide receiver does. Let's go to Young Psycho. Another good question coming in here, my man. What do you think about getting Asante, move Nate to free safety, inquire, let Darian Porter, JB Asante lock up the skies? Nate who? Nate Hobbs isn't on the team anymore, so I'm a little bit confused about this. Again, Asante Samuel's an outside corner, but I believe in Darian Porter. I believe in Jacorian Bennett. I believe in Eric Stokes. I think that we have some good outside corners. If you're going to add a corner, if it was up to me, I'd go get a veteran in Mike Hilton, let him play in the slot, because having a veteran sometimes can be really important for a very young and inexperienced cornerback room. But Asante Samuel, I think, is just a name that people associate with his dad and think that he could play in the slot. Maybe he can. He just hasn't done it yet. And if he hasn't done it yet, I don't know if that's going to be something that he's willing to just sign up and go out there and do. We got some more questions coming up here on the Raiders Report in just a moment. But again, today's show sponsored by Panda Sups. This is the workout company that I use. I use their protein, I use their creatine, and I use their brand new BCAAs. I am somebody that when I go to the gym, I want to get the most out of my workout. So, you take a scoop of your protein, but it's also really important to be able to get a scoop of BCAAs in there to make sure that you're staying hydrated and to make sure that you are replenishing your muscles. Use code GENTY for 25% off at pandasups.com. I don't know if this is the best analogy, but this is just the analogy that I think of, where protein is gas in a car. BCAAs is like oil, where it might be overlooked, but I would make an argument that oil is even more important to your car than gasoline, because gasoline, like if you can run a car with gasoline, but you can't ruin a car. Just like if you don't put oil in your car, you're going to ruin it. If you don't train and you don't use BCAAs, you're just not going to get the most out of your workout, and your engine's not going to be being able to go out there and do it to the high level that you're hoping it can. I will say this, if anybody uses code GENTY at pandasups.com, and again, this link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. If anybody wants to go check out any other products, if you want to ask me which products I use, again, I use protein, BCAAs, creatine. Alex actually really likes the greens. Nootropics really help Chugs and I stay focused. I'm not going to lie to you, I had a lot of nootropics during the NFL draft. The Sleepy's also really great if you have trouble going to bed at night. Alex sometimes uses the Sleepy because she's doesn't always have the ability to be able to wind down like I do. And if anybody spends over $100 using code GENTY, Panda Sups, they're going to throw in a shaker and they're going to throw a bag in for free. Code GENTY, 25% off, pandasups.com. You do have to be in the United States, though, to claim that offer. So I'm just throwing that out there right now. I know, sorry, Martin. Sorry to some of our Canada fans as well, but, Blinky also is out there in England. Let's go to U.S. Marine 1073. Between Cooper and Ruggs, I'd rather give Ruggs a second chance because Max knows the struggle of addiction versus giving up on your team. I'll just leave it like this. I don't want either of these players on the Raiders, and I'll be real. I don't think the Raiders would even consider Henry Ruggs for what he did. And maybe I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I know the Raiders did say they weren't going to give up on Ruggs, but I think that was more just from they're not going to give up on him from a human being, because I've never met Ruggs, but everybody that I've talked to in regards to him says that, honestly, he was a good dude. He made a just horrific decision, but I will never root for Henry Ruggs, and that's only because I understand that people deserve a second chance. To me, him not spending his life in jail is a second chance where, again, horrible situation happened. I'll just leave it like this. If the Tinter family has forgiven him, then who am I to say he can't join the NFL? I'll say it like that. What up, Enthrak? The rookie jersey numbers, I actually don't think that the rookie jersey numbers have been released yet as far as I know. I was talking to Dante Thornton Jr.'s agent today, and I was also talking to his manager over the weekend. We're going to have I shouldn't say it's 100% yet, but I think we're going to be able to get him on the show here, and we're going to have an opportunity to potentially do a jersey giveaway. Once the rookies announce their jersey numbers, that ball will get rolling a lot quicker. So because I haven't heard word on a jersey from Thornton and his agent and his team, I don't think that any of the rookie numbers have been picked yet. Again, that's as of May 1st right now. Let's go to Jay Peace. What up, Jay? After the draft, do you feel like we are playoff contenders? If not, what do you feel we are missing to be potential contenders? I think that we are playoff contenders, where I think that we have the opportunity to get into the playoffs. Do I think that we have a football team right now that can run deep into the playoffs? I think that that's still it's still too early for me to say that. I'm concerned about free safety. I'm concerned about our linebacker room. I'm concerned about nickel. If we were able to upgrade at those three positions, I would confidently say that, yes, I expect this team to be able to make the playoffs because Geno Smith is a legit quarterback. Ashton Jeanty is a hell of a running back. Our offense is going to surprise a lot of people because we also finally have an offensive coordinator that is actually good at his job, is probably the best way that I can put it. I am going into the season right now with the mentality of we can win 9 games. If Geno Smith can have a winning record on those Seahawks teams that he was on with how bad their offensive line was, and, Jonathan Hankins, which shout out to my man, Big Time Hank, entering year 13 with Seattle. I was talking to Hank because he did an interview the other day with Crosby, and Hank even said, I don't think people realize, how poor that Seahawks offensive line was, which, now he's going back to the team, but how poor the offensive line was and how well Geno played in those situations. I think that this is a team that can win 9 games, but because I think that we are going to play a brand of FU football, anything is possible, and when you run the rock the way that we're going to be able to run the rock, and with our defensive line, if we stay healthy, we could beat anybody. And I don't think that we've been able to say that for many years being a Raider fan. What up, Reb? Which UDFA player would you like to make the team? Hi, Marsh. I'm on TV. Marsh just looked over, went like this. Which UDFA player do you like to make the team? I think Ja Joyner is an interesting name, and I say that because I feel bad every time I bring up Charles Snowden's name. I always, say the July 22nd court date that he has, but I do think that that's a big factor. If I was a new regime, I wouldn't want to have to deal with anything that's not football and that's non-football related. And because Joyner is a good player, somebody that I thought, could have gotten drafted. We had a round 5, round 6 draft grade on him. That's somebody to keep in mind. I think Mellott Dotson is a player to keep in mind. I'll also throw out the name, oh man, I can't think of it right now, which is driving me nuts. Greedy Vance, slot corner, could be somebody to keep in mind. The fullback / tight end, who is just Conroy. He is a unbelievable athlete. He scored a 9.98 RAS score for tight ends. Because this team values athletes, could be an interesting guy to keep in mind. Let's go to Roche. What up, Roche? Washing tape on Jack Bech, badass. Jack Bech is a badass, and I mean this. If y'all haven't seen the call where John Spytek calls Jack Bech, watch it. I swear to y'all, there was one night last week, I got home. It was after, it was Saturday, because Saturday is day 3 of the draft. We got home a little bit earlier. I went home that night, and I was watching the call videos. I watched the call video to Ashton Jeanty. I watched the call video for Thornton Jr. I watched the call video for, Jack Bech. The Jack Bech one was my favorite because the whole time you could tell how fired up he is, and you could tell, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, but he's also playing with a heavy heart. And I think when people play with a heavy heart, they do things that people, don't do, where I can remember my mom when I was a kid always talking about, if a car fell on you, I'd be able to pick it up because of adrenaline. Jack Bech was playing for his brother Tiger, and 7 to heaven, I think it actually would have been really cool if he would have been number 7. I'm just being totally honest. Geno's going to be that number, but Jack Bech is maybe my favorite player that this team drafted, and I only say that because he has a Raider mentality, and you can see it clear as day. What up, Rob? Is cornerback Jalen Ramsey a fit and possibility? I think Jalen Ramsey can fit on any NFL team because he's still really good at football. I don't really understand why people think he's washed, because I get his numbers maybe weren't as good as some years past, but let's also remember how bad that Miami Dolphins offense was, right? Imagine if a Raiders fan were to be like, oh, but that Raiders defense stunk when Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and Brian Hoyer, Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. I think a lot of us would fire back with, well, yeah, the defense struggled at the end of some games, and the defense struggled at times, but that's because they were always on the damn field because the offense couldn't move the ball. the Dolphins had maybe the worst offense in the National Football League last season, especially when they lost Tua, and I do think that really impacted the Dolphins' defense overall. Though, outside corner, again, not a need. Would he be the best corner on our team? Maybe. I still would say yes, he's probably better than Ja'Cory Bennett, but there are some people out there that wonder if Ramsey could make the transition to free safety the way that Charles Woodson did, the way that Patrick Peterson did. That would be pretty fun as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to Melly. What up, Melly? I'm not going to lie. I still feel like we don't have a top 30 wide receiver. Plus, for the love of God, we need a coverage safety and a linebacker. You know, Jakobi Meyers might not be a top 30 wide receiver on every NFL team out there. He might not be. But he's a top 30 wide receiver for the role that he's going to play on the Raiders. And I think that needs to be the point that Raiders fans need to think about. If you're going to go out there and have Ashton Genty be your running back, we are going to run the football. So you need wide receivers that, one, are willing to block, and two, can block. I think also when you look at a quarterback that is as accurate as Geno Smith is, you need to be able to have wide receivers that when the ball's on target, they don't drop it. Jakobi Meyers didn't drop a single ball last season. Jack Bech had only 4 drops his entire college career and dropped only 1 ball. When you look at the skill set that Jakobi Meyers is, and then you combine that with the skill set Jack Bech is, they're very similar, so they have something in mind. And then you have 2 receivers in, honestly, 3 receivers, and Tommy Mellott, Thornton, and then also Tre Tucker that have 4.3 speed that can take a top off of a defense. So I don't totally disagree with what you're saying, but you have to be able to respect the speed of those 3 guys. Plus, you have to be able to respect the one-on-one winning ability. Plus, you have to understand they're going to be able to go out there and block and do a lot of different things. I don't look at it as just top 30 overall receiver. We have receivers that fit this offense, and that, I would say, is more important than adding Devontae. I would say Devontae Adams or Jakobi Meyers on this Raiders team right now. I think Jacoby's a better fit because of the offense that we are going to run. Let's go to Lucky Raider 777. Mitch, how much confidence do you have in Pete Carroll compared to AP, since AP had such a poor quarterback situation and Pete has Geno? I mean, I'll tell you this. I wanted Antonio Pierce to work out. And it's a shame that, the Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury whole situation didn't end up working out. And it sucks that, Antonio Pierce got stuck with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. I know us Raider fans were hopeful the season was going to go different, but I think all of us in the back of our mind was sitting there going, if our defense isn't a top 5 defense, I don't know how many games that this team's going to be able to win. Defense ends up getting super injured. We get unlucky, and the offense was, terrible. If Geno Smith was the Raiders quarterback, I do wonder if Antonio Pierce would still have a job. But I think also Pete Carroll is well respected around all NFL circles. And Pete Carroll was able to get a job right away. I think it's very telling, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Antonio Pierce, but he's not working in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, how many head coaches that you see get fired don't even get another job as just like an assistant or, even like a linebackers coach again? And he didn't do that. So AP showed me that he was way over his head as a head coach. He's going to get another shot, whether it's in college or whether it's in the NFL, because he is a good motivator. But we went into every single game last season having the worst head coach. And that's just that's a fact. I always said last year, AP didn't get a good hand, no doubt, but he also didn't play that hand well at all. He was given 2 and a 3 in Texas Hold'em, and he was going all in with it. Not the way I would have done it. Reminder to anybody out there, if I didn't get to your question, I apologize. You can always hit me up on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. I always do my best to check my DMs, and since I got a little bit more time this weekend, I'll be able to check out those DMs a little bit more. Appreciate everyone that subscribed. Appreciate everyone that was able to tune in to today's show.